Borderlands 4 launched like a rocket ship, exciting and full of fanfare, but that ship didn't stay in orbit for long. On Steam, it peaked at roughly 304,000 concurrent players at launch, and 2 months later, that number had crashed to just under 20,000. Guys, that's a staggering 93% drop in a blink. For context, Borderlands 2 and 3 never fell that fast.
If player counts were in stock, Borderlands 4 would be a textbook case of a flash crash.
So, you might be asking, what happened? Why did the faithful suddenly vanish into the wastelands of other games, leaving Borderlands 4 eerily quiet? Was it live service fatigue, loot fatigue, or maybe Claptrap finally snapped and unplugged the servers himself? We're not here to, guys, roast or praise. It's a factual, funny deep dive into the numbers, the reviews, the grind, and finally, the stupidity and absurdity of it all. Over the course of this video, we'll break down 4 main reasons for this exodus: performance issues, story repetition, loot saturation, and the distraction of other new releases. I'll show you the numbers and the reviews said, highlight the grind players faced, and sprinkle in some sarcastic commentary so you don't nod off mid statistics. By the end, you will hopefully understand it from my perspective exactly why Borderlands 4 lost more than 280,000 players in only 2 months, and why the hype couldn't hold against reality. Performance was the first hammer striking Borderlands 4's foundation. On Steam Deck, players reported average frame rates around 22 FPS in large fights,
turning intense firefights into choppy freaking slideshows.
Ooh, and high-end PCs, they weren't safe either. Stutters, frame drops, and random crashes appeared in forum threads across Reddit, Steam, and Discord. A shooter that thrives on fast reflexes and precise aim suddenly became a guessing game. Shoot, wait,
hope your bullets register.
For us, the players, grinding for loot, guys, this wasn't just annoying, it was demotivating. Live service events, boss fights, and daily challenges require uninterrupted gameplay. When you can't even survive a single encounter without technical interruptions, the dopamine loop that makes grinding addictive collapses. Reviews and community feedback often reference moments like the boss fight crashed my game mid-fight, or inventory stutters make swapping gear a nightmare. Some even joke that Borderlands 4
runs like Claptrap on dial-up.
The impact on retention is easy to see. If a player can't consistently play, they don't engage with events, seasonal content, or daily rewards. Instead of hopping back online, they quietly disappear, reducing the overall active player base. The initial launch spike of over 300,000 players was fueled by hype and loyalty, but poor performance meant many didn't make it past the first few weeks. Sure, I will give it to Gearbox for releasing a fixed patch, but after what? In short, technical issues were the invisible exit ramp. Players didn't rage quit, they just quietly stopped logging in. Performance problems didn't ruin Borderlands 4 by themselves, but they created the conditions for an exodus, setting the stage for the other issues that compounded the problem in the following months. Story fatigue was the second layer of the problem. Borderlands 4 has always been a series that thrives on absurdity, stupid dialogue, and over-the-top villains. Borderlands 4 delivered villains and jokes, but fans, they noticed a pattern recycled from previous games. Pick your poison, gamers and gamerettes. Cutscenes followed familiar formulas, dialogue, it echoed old jokes, and the story beats felt predictable. There was this one review that put it bluntly: the game is very fun but unable to revive its old glory. Across Steam and Reddit, fans lamented that the game felt like it was a deja vu. Comments like, "I'm having the same boss fight as BL2 again," and "Gearbox has lost faith with its audience." These comments appeared repeatedly. Guys, this isn't just nitpicking. Retention stats show that Borderlands 4 lost over 10% more players in its first 2 months than Borderlands 2 and 3 did. It's simple. The story loop wasn't compelling enough to keep players grinding. Mission structure contributed to that fatigue too. Fetch quests, repeated boss fights, and bonus objectives mirrored prior entries, guys. Even though the graphics were upgraded and enemies slightly tweaked, familiarity dulled excitement. Fans wanted chaos, absurdity, stupidity, mayhem, and novelty. When every joke sounds recycled and every cutscene feels familiar, well, motivation to continue just fades away. Now, the story repetition, it didn't make Borderlands 4 a bad game. It just reduced its stickiness. Players arrived expecting unpredictability and outrageous storytelling. Instead, Predictability combined with performance issues nudged them down toward the exit ramp, helping explain the massive drop in concurrent users. Loot, the centerpiece of the Borderlands franchise. Loot saturation, that was the third hammer striking Borderlands 4. The series has always thrived on rewards and an enormous amount of loot, but in Borderlands 4, players quickly realized that more loot doesn't always mean better loot. Take this for instance, guys. One player on Games Radar spent 150 hours and defeated 3,000 bosses, only to find that specific high tier drops appeared only 5% of the time. When everything is technically rare, nothing truly feels special. And to add insult to injury, inventory management, it was hectic. PC Gamer called the UI a chaotic mess with clunky menus and cumbersome gear comparisons. The players had to sift through hundreds of items to figure out what was actually useful, and the grind became tedious rather than rewarding. Like I mentioned, the dopamine loop that makes loot addictive faltered. Instead of celebrating a legendary drop, players sighed, swapped stats, and logged freaking off. Guys, like we've mentioned, loot is the core of Borderlands. This problem, it isn't minor. When the main reward system loses its appeal, the incentive to grind it just evaporates. Players stayed for the first few days chasing excitement, but as the novelty wore off and the loot loop felt repetitive, the drop in concurrent players became inevitable. To sum it up, loot saturation broke the thrill. Borderlands 4 offered more than ever, but the abundance diluted excitement. Rare items became routine, and the chaos that made Borderlands fun turned into a freaking chore. Combined with the performance issues and story repetition discussed earlier, the loot loop failure accelerated the mass exodus. And last but not least, timing was the fourth major factor, which was highlighted by one of the viewers on the previous short.
Unzaga of the East. That name gave me the shivers.
Thank you very much for your beautiful and valuable input. Borderlands 4 launched into a crowded release window, and several new highly anticipated games dropped shortly after, pulling attention away. Ark Raiders, Dispatch, Escape from Duckov, Marvel Rivals Zombie Mode, which is the highly anticipated PvE mode. Each of these titles offered fresh gameplay, new content, and competing communities. For players grinding Borderlands 4, these games were impossible to ignore. For instance, like I've mentioned, a PvE zombie mode here, a tactical shooter there, or a narrative-driven adventure elsewhere. Suddenly, attention was split and time became a finite resource. And guys, those are just some of the highly anticipated games that I've mentioned. There are a lot more you can find on Steam database. This distraction alone was compounded by Borderlands 4 existing issues. Even loyal players faced performance hiccups, repetitive story beats, and loot fatigue when better optimized, novel, or socially engaging alternatives appeared. It's no surprise that thousands quietly left. FOMO, new updates, and shiny releases elsewhere compounded the drop-off. It's simple psychology. Novelty wins. Borderlands 4 didn't lose players because it was hated. It lost players because better options, exciting content, and fresh challenges arrived just as fatigue set in. Timing is everything in these AAA games, and Borderlands 4 launch window, it put it in the crossfire of several engaging releases. Borderlands 4's Steam drop from 304,000 to just under 20,000 concurrent players in 2 months was dramatic, but not mysterious. Performance issues frustrated players from day one. Story repetition dulled engagement. Loot saturation broke the reward loop. And the release of new comparing games drew attention away. This isn't a story of a bad game. No, I don't think Borderlands 4 was ever a bad game. Okay, maybe I did at first because of its performance issues, but I released another video complimenting the actual game. Borderlands 4 delivered chaotic battles, absurd humor, and the loot-filled grind fans expect. But execution and timing misaligned with expectations. Loyal players, they arrived, tried the grind, and quietly left when rewards, performance, and narrative didn't match the freaking hype. What do we gain from all of this? Well, even in a franchise built on absurdity, chaos, stupidity, loot, and anything else that helped the Borderlands franchise rise to the top, player attention is finite. Performance matters, Story matters, reward loops matters, and everything else does matter, which also includes timing. Borderlands 4, it didn't collapse because it was hated. It stumbled under the weight of high expectations, execution issues, and the allure of fresh new games. In the end, this exodus is a reminder for developers and fans alike. Even the most loyal player base will wonder when the loop breaks, the story repeats.
And the universe offers something shinier elsewhere.
What do you guys think? Is Borderlands 4 going through what No Man's Sky went through and will rise once again after its fall? Or is it truly the end of this insane looter shooter legend? Drop your thoughts down below.
Before I drop you with my 0.2% rarity AK-47.
And guys, thank you once again for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more content in the future. Take care and I'll see you in the next one.